So as workplaces navigate through this phase of the pandemic, many issues continue to pop up. From paid sick benefits given a shortage of rapid tests to burnout disability claims to whether vaccine mandates even make sense given the spread of Omicron affecting vaccinated employees. For more on this, employment lawyer Lior Samfiru joins us to break down your rights. Lior, welcome to the program. So let's talk about the first one, the shortage of rapid tests. And this is interesting because a lot of people are wondering whether this will impact whether an employee gets sick benefits if they can't get tested. Talk about that for a moment.
Well, Anthony, certainly that is a concern, but the very good news is that to access government sick benefits, for example, in Ontario, the up to 3 days that the government of Ontario provides under the infectious disease emergency leave, you don't need a doctor's note, you don't need a rapid test or a PCR test to qualify. It really is the honor system, if you will. So if you say you can't work or you have symptoms of COVID, you can qualify for sick benefits in those situations. Now, that's different, though, with respect to any employer-administered sick benefits. Some employers may have their own sick days, and they can decide what rules apply in those situations, and they may require testing. But to access government sick benefits, you don't need to have a positive confirmed test. Really, they'll take you at your word.
All right, so this is also the time of year when people get sick normally, in the midst of winter, of course, and a lot of people are unsure, given all this, given the symptoms, especially with Omicron, whether they have COVID-19. Can an employee be penalized if they show up to work with symptoms, but they're not sure what it is, especially given the shortage of rapid tests?
It is tough to know, isn't it? And an employee is expected to be extra cautious so that they don't take a risk, they don't put others at risk, and they don't show up to work if, in fact, they have COVID symptoms. So an employee has to take this seriously, and if an employee does not take it seriously and shows up to work when they shouldn't, an employer can absolutely discipline that employee up to and including termination. And the same thing applies other way if the employee is being dishonest and maybe is trying to take time off work when they don't have symptoms. Again, we'll take you at your word, but if it turns out to be false, there absolutely can be consequences.
Another issue a lot of people are asking about is burnout. It's we're now in year 3 of this, and employees are obviously feeling it in different sectors, some more than others. And given that, can they still qualify for disability leave? And I'm wondering how often, how likely are these claims to be denied by insurance companies, for example?
Well, Anthony, I've been seeing this tremendously over the past couple of years. A lot of individuals are suffering from stress, anxiety, depression as a result of everything going on in the world, and they need time off work. So the bottom line is, yes, you can qualify for time off. You can qualify under your insurer's disability plan if you have one, as long as you have a doctor's note saying you cannot work for medical reasons. It doesn't even need to say what those medical reasons are, and you can and you are able to be off work. I do think that insurance companies often struggle with mental health issues, so it's more likely to be denied, but those things can be resolved, and insurance companies are understanding that those are real issues. So yes, you have that doctor's note. You are able to be off work.
On to the very contentious issue of vaccine mandates in the workplace. And of course, we're seeing a lot of people fully vaccinated, even with booster shots, becoming infected with COVID-19. Break down the law for us. And a lot of people in certain workplaces are still losing their jobs. But talk about that for a moment.
Employers really have to think now long and hard. Are we actually doing anything by terminating those that are not vaccinated? In light of the fact that the numbers are showing often that non-vaccinated and vaccinated are getting or are just as likely potentially to get COVID-19, I think that an employer that has a vaccine policy that says you're not working here unless you're vaccinated are going to be very in a tough time to justify that. And it's going to be very difficult to justify a termination without compensation for unvaccinated individuals. So employers now have that liability, potentially now more than ever. So unless there's a government mandate that imposes that obligation on the employee and the employer, I think employers must be very careful and try to avoid terminating for cause non-vaccinated employees.
Lior Samfiru, always a pleasure, sir. We appreciate your expert insight.